really proud of our OE and downtime module. We sincerely think it's the best way to simplify the automation of both the collection of state, count, and other data, as well as the generation of your OEE score and other KPIs in real time. And we sincerely believe that installing Sepasoft OEE will bring visibility to your constraints. You'll be able to tell what your top downtime reasons are, where your lines are producing waste, what percentage of work orders are completed on time, which operators oversee the most effective shifts, and more. But that's a lot of the value in our solution. It's shining a light on what's happening. It's letting you know where you're having problems. But our software, as much as we're proud of it, cannot change your workflow, right? We can't fix a chronic machine fault or train your operators or reduce rework and waste. That's what you folks have to do as empowered by the knowledge coming out of our software. And so what I'd like to transition into here now is how do we take action? How do we take the input from these tools and use it to feed our efforts to improve our plan? And so the first step in our book is to get the right team together. Now at Sepasoft, whenever someone purchases our software, especially a first-time customer, we have what's called a quick start program where someone in our design consultation department gets in touch with that new client to ensure that each project gets off on the right foot. When we have our first call, much of our time is spent asking you folks about the team of people involved in the project. Who is the project's IT contract? Who's in charge of quality? Who is the project sponsor at the customer, right? The reason why we make a special point of doing this is because through hard-earned experience, we've learned that OEE and other MES projects only really work when you get everyone involved in a room, or at least a Zoom. We've occasionally taken calls from folks on both sides of the IT-OT divide who are considering OEE software for reasons that might be at odds. We've spoken to folks at a plant who are trying to prove corporate wrong about their efficiency or what have you, or folks at corporate who are trying to, push down a corporate standard. And those things aren't bad necessarily, but they're not going to bring the team together to work together towards those improvements. In your plant or your enterprise, I know there's a team of the right folks. It might be people from operations or maintenance or management or quality or IT or others, right? These are just people we thought of off the top of our heads, but it could be other folks. You may not need some of the folks on our list. You might need more folks. But the point is, you get everyone together across that IT-OT divide, across these teams, and you get them in the room together to talk about how to make improvements. But that's the point of what I'm trying to share here. And once you've gathered that team together, there's a process that Eliyahu M. Goldratt lays out in the goal that successful teams should repeat. And it's something like this. I'm paraphrasing here, but that team should meet regularly, get together weekly, monthly, whatever works, some cadence, and analyze data to identify and emphasize constraints, right? Elevate the constraints. So if your data coming out of the OEE module or your other tools or what have you tells you that your palletizer is a problem, or that this operator is a problem, or this section or this process is a problem, identify anything that impedes smooth material flow throughout your plant, right? Identify those things, and those are probably your constraints. Find room to make quick improvements based on those constraints. Pick the low-hanging fruit, and then carefully implement larger changes and measure results as you progress. So let's say you do say that your palletizing area is your bottleneck. So maybe you add a second palletizer to increase performance, right? Increase your performance score. Maybe you repair a problem in the palletizer such that a recurring downtime reason stops occurring, right? That's your availability score. Maybe you figure out what's happening there so you can reduce the rejects or the problems occurring and reduce waste at the palletizer. That's your quality score, right? And if you make improvements on those, you increase your availability, your performance, or your quality, your OEE score goes up, And that's how you know it's working, right? When you make any improvement, watch your OEE score. Does your OEE score climb? That's how you know it's working or not. And then once you've done that, repeat the process. And as you repeat the process, you're going to notice that your constraints migrate up or down the line, right? You're going to find that maybe it's not your palletizer anymore, it's your filler or it's your sealer, right? That's going to happen as you make these improvements. And again, keep measuring by your OE score and keep repeating that process, and you're going to see those real, actual, tangible improvements. So, it's a virtuous cycle of sorts, right? The more you do, the better it will go. So once you get on that virtuous cycle, that repeated process, there are really a few best practices that you should consider and keep in mind. And I've listed a few of them here. There are more, but here's the ones that came to mind first. One, have that clearly defined criteria for success. Keep your can at 99 cents, or achieve 95% accuracy on your due date estimates for your work orders, or whatever, right? An OE increase of 5% this month, right? Have a clearly defined criteria for success. And that way you're striving towards something and you can measure your improvements in light of that criteria. Include all applicable departments in that process. Get that team together. Start small with a pilot, right? Don't don't try to roll out OEE to your entire multinational enterprise. I mean, by all means, please do, but really, with success in mind, pick a line that you feel is the most impactful. Start small. Don't overcomplicate, and you'll be able to rapidly identify the sort of ROI you can expect via this project. And you will learn so much on that first line. When you go on that first line, your assumptions will be challenged. You'll learn that the things you thought were a problem actually weren't, and you'll be able to use that insight to touch the next line and the next line. Now, there are ways to do this so it's rapid and it's clear and it's accurate, but the point is, if you start small, you can take off a small bite and feel like you're making progress and then roll out further. Right hand in hand with that is the idea of, if you use a solution like our OEE module, use the built-in functionality wherever possible. Use the ready-made components that the solution provides rather than complex custom solutions where possible. We pride ourselves in the OEE module on the solution's customizability, right? When I worked in support, everyone I talked to, just due to the nature of Ignition and Sepasoft, their stuff would look a little bit different, and that's good. Everyone's needs are unique, but our software and other solutions have rich built-in functionality that you can take advantage of rapidly, roll out quickly, learn what improvements there are, and then customize, and then find places to improve and enhance your solution, right? In software development, we call it a minimum viable product, right? Or kind of like a pilot. You start with a small thing, you figure out what benefit it brings you, and you use that to feed future effort. Track machine utilization, not just uptime versus downtime, not just rejects and waste, right? Track, are you doing the right things with your equipment? Are you producing stuff you're selling or stuff you're storing? Is your equipment idle or in changeover or in production? Track that utilization in addition to uptime and downtime. So in summary, the point of this is to say that the best way to improve plant performance is to work with your entire team to orient improvement efforts towards your constraints or your bottlenecks. That the best way to measure those improvements is via how much of a difference it makes to your OEE score, preferably as calculated by a tool like our OEE module for Ignition.